Fellow Nigerians, today marks the 65th anniversary of our great nation's independence. As we reflect on the significance of this day and our journey of nationhood since October 1960, when our founding fathers accepted the instrument of self-government from colonial rule, let us remember that their sacrifice, devotion, and grand dream of a strong, prosperous, and united Nigeria that will lead Africa and be the beacon of light to the rest of the world. Our founding heroes and heroines, Herbert Macaulay, Dr. Nnamdi Azikiwe, Sir Abubakar Tafawa Balewa, Chief Obafemi Awolowo, Sir Ahmadu Bello, Margaret Ekpo, Anthony Enahoro, Ladoke Akintola, Michael Okpara, Aminu Kano, Funmilayo Ransome Kuti, and other nationalists believe it was Nigeria's manifest destiny to lead the entire black race as the largest black nation on earth. For decades, the promise of our independence has been tested by profound social, economic, and political challenges, and we have survived. While we may not have achieved all the lofty dreams of our forebearers, we have not strayed too far from them. In 65 years since our independence, we have made tremendous progress in economic growth, social cohesion, and physical development. Our economy has experienced significant growth since 1960. Although it is much easier for those whose vocation is to focus solely on what ought to be, we must recognize and celebrate our significant progress. Nigerians today have access to better education and health care than in 1960. At independence, Nigeria had 120 secondary schools with a student population of about 130,000. Available data indicate that as of year 2024, there were more than 23,000 secondary schools in our country. At independence, we had only the University of Ibadan and Yaba College of Technology as the two tertiary institutions in Nigeria. By the end of last year, there were 274 universities, 183 polytechnics, and 236 colleges of education in Nigeria, comprising federal, state, and private institutions. We have experienced a significant surge in growth across every sector of our national life since independence. In healthcare, infrastructure, financial services, manufacturing, telecommunications, information, technology, aviation and defense, among others. Our country has experienced both the good and the bad times in its 65 years of nationhood. As it's normal for every nation and its people, we fought a bitter and unavoidable civil war, experienced military dictatorships, and lived through major political crises. In all this, we weathered every storm and overcame every challenge with courage, grit, and uncommon determination. while our system and ties that bind us are sometimes stretched by insidious forces opposed to our values and ways of life, we continue to strive to build a more perfect union where every Nigerian can find better accommodation and find purpose and fulfillment. Fellow compatriots, this is the third time I will address you on our independence anniversary since I assumed office as your president on May 29, 2023. In the last 28 months of my administration, like our founding fathers and leaders who came before me, I have committed myself irrevocably to the unfinished nation-building business. Upon assuming office, our administration inherited a near-collapse economy caused by decades of fiscal policy distortions and misalignment that had impaired real growth. As a new administration, we face a simple choice: continue business as usual and watch our nation drift, or embark on a courageous fundamental reform path. We chose the path of reform. We chose the path of tomorrow over the comfort of today. Less than 3 years later, decisions are bearing fruits. And resetting culture, but necessary decisions are bearing fruits. And resetting our country for sustainable growth, we ended the corrupt fuel subsidy and multiple foreign exchange rates that created massive incentive for a rentier economy, benefiting only a tiny minority. At the same time, the masses received little or nothing from our commonwealth. Our administration has redirected the economy towards a more inclusive path, channeling money to fund education, healthcare, national security, agriculture, and political economic infrastructure, such as roads, power, broadband, and social investment programs. These initiatives will generally improve Nigerians' quality of life. As a result of the tough decisions we made, the federal and state government, including local government, now have more money to take care of the people at the lower level of the ladder to address our development challenges. Fellow Nigerians, we are racing against time. We must build the road we need, repair the ones that have become descriptive, and construct the schools our children will attend, and the hospitals that will care for our people. We have to plan for the generations that will come after us. We do not have enough electricity to power our industries and homes today, or the resources to repair our deteriorating roads, building seaports, railroads, and international airports comparable to the best in the world, because we failed to make the necessary investment decades ago. Our administration is setting things right now. I'm pleased to report that we have finally turned the corner. The worst is over, I say. Yesterday's pains are giving way to relief. I salute your endurance, support, and understanding. I will continue to work for you and justify the confidence you repose in me to steer the ship of our nation to a safer harbor. Under our leadership, our economy is recovering fast, and the reforms we started over 2 years ago are delivering tangible results. The second quarter 2025 gross domestic product grew by 4.23%. That's Nigeria's fastest pace in 4 years, and outpaced the 3.4% projected by the International Monetary Fund. Inflation declined to 20.12% in August 2025, the lowest level in 3 years. The administration is working diligently to boost agricultural production and ensure food security to reducing food costs. In the last 2 years of our administration, we've achieved 12 remarkable economic milestones as a result of the implementation of our sound fiscal and monetary policies. We have attained a record-breaking increase in non-oil revenue, achieving 2025 target by August with over 20 trillion naira. In September 2025 alone, we raised 3.65 trillion. That is 411% higher than the amount raised in May year 2023. We have restored physical health. Our debt service to revenue ratio has been significantly reduced from 97% to below 50%. We have paid down the infamous ways and means advances that threaten our economic stability and triggered inflation. Following the removal of the corrupt petroleum subsidy, we have freed up trillions of naira for targeted investment in the real economy and social programs for the most vulnerable, as well as all tiers of government. We have a stronger foreign reserve position today than 3 years ago. Our external reserves increased to 42.03 billion this September, the highest since 2019. Our tax to GDP ratio has risen to 13.5% from less than 10%. The ratio is expected to increase further when new tax law takes effect in January. The tax law is not about increasing the burden on existing taxpayers, but about expanding the base to build the Nigeria we deserve and providing tax relief to low-income earners. We are now a net exporter. Nigeria has recorded a trade surplus for 5 consecutive quarters. We are now selling more to the world than we are buying, a fundamental shift that strengthens our currency and creates jobs at home. Nigeria's trade surplus increased by 44.3% in the second quarter of year 2025 to 7.46 trillion. That is $4.74 billion, the largest in about 3 years. Goods manufactured in Nigeria and exported jumped by 173%. Non-oil export as a component of our export trade now represents 48% compared to oil exports. which account for 52%. This signals that we are diversifying our economy and foreign exchange sources outside oil and gas. Our oil production rebounded to 1.68 million barrels per day from barely 1 million in May 2023. The increase occurred due to improved security, new investments, and better stakeholder management in Niger Delta. Furthermore, the country has made notable advances by refining PMS domestically for the first time in 4 decades. It has also established itself as the continent's leading exporter of aviation fuel. The Naira has stabilized from the turbulence and volatility witnessed in 2023 and 2024. The gap between the official rate and the unofficial market has reduced substantially following FX reforms and fresh capital and remittance inflows. The multiple exchange rates, which fostered the corruption and arbitrage, are now part of history. Additionally, our currency rate against the dollar is no longer determined by the fluctuation in crude oil prices. Under the Social Investment Program, to support poor households and vulnerable Nigerians, 330 billion has been disbursed to 8 million households, many of whom have received either 1 or 2 out of 3 tranches of the 25,000 naira each. Coal mining recovered dramatically from a 22% decline in Q1 to 57.5% growth in second quarter of 2025, becoming one of the Nigeria's fastest growing sectors. The solid mineral sector is now pivotal in our economy, encouraging value-added production of minerals extracted from our soil. The administration is expanding transport infrastructure across the country, covering rail, road, airports, seaports. Rail and water transport grew by over 40% and 27% respectively. The 284-kilometer Kano-Katsina-Maradi standard gauge rail project and the Kaduna-Kano rail line are nearing completion. Work is progressing well on legacy Lagos-Calabar Coastal Highway and Sokoto-Badagry Highway. The Federal Executive Council recently approved $3 billion to complete the Eastern Railway project. The world is taking notice of our efforts. Sovereign credit rating agencies have upgraded our outlook for Nigeria, recognizing our improved economic fundamentals. Our stock market is experiencing an unprecedented boom, rising from all-share index of 55,000 points in May 2003 to 142,000 points as of September 26, 2025. At its last MPC meeting, the central bank slashed interest rate for the first time in 5 years, expressing confidence in our country's macroeconomic stability. On security, we are working diligently to enhance national security, ensuring our economic experiences improved growth and performance. The officers and men of our armed forces and other security agencies are working tirelessly and making significant sacrifices to keep us safe. They are winning the war against terrorism, banditry, and other violent crimes. We see their victories in their blood and sweat to stamp out Boko Haram terror in the northeast, IPOB ESN terror in southeast, and banditry and kidnapping. We must continue to celebrate their gallantry and salute their courage on behalf of a grateful nation. Peace has returned to 100 of our liberated communities in the northwest and northeast, and thousands of our people have returned safely to their homes. I have a message for you, you young people. You are the future and the greatest asset of this blessed country. You must continue to dream big, innovate, and conquer more territories in your various fields of science, technology, sport, and art and creative sector. Our administration, through policies and funding, we continue to give you wings to fly sky high. We created NEL Fund to support students with loans for their educational pursuits. Approximately 510,000 students across 32 states of the Federation, including FCT, have benefited from this initiative, covering 228 higher institutions. As of September 10, the total loan disbursed was 99.5 billion, while the upkeep allowance stood as 44.7 billion. Credit Corp, another initiative of our administration, has granted over 153,000 Nigerians 30 billion affordable loans for vehicles, solar energy, home upgrades, digital devices, and more. Youth credit, which I promised last June, is a reality, with tens of thousands of NYSC members now active beneficiaries of consumer credit for resettlement. Under our Renew Hope agenda, we promise to build a Nigeria where every young person, regardless of background, has an equitable opportunity to access a better future. Thus, the investment in digital and creative enterprise, IDICE program, the Bank of Industry, is driving the program in collaboration with the African Development Bank, the French Development Agency, and the Islamic Development Bank. This initiative is at the cusp of implementation. Our last 2 years, we have collaborated with our partners to launch the program, supporting our young builders and dreamers in the technology and creative sectors. This is a message of hope, fellow Nigerians. I've always candidly acknowledged that this reform have come with some temporary pains. The biting effects of inflation and the rising cost of living remains a significant concern to our government. However, the alternative of allowing our country to descend into economic chaos or bankruptcy was not an option. Our macroeconomic progress has proven that our sacrifices have not been in vain. Together, we are laying a new foundation cast in concrete, not on quicksand. The accurate measure of our success will not be limited to economic statistics alone, but rather in the food on our family tables, the quality of education our children receive, the electricity in our homes, and the security in our communities. Let me assure you of administration's determination to ensure that the resources we have saved and the stability we have built are channeled into these critical areas. Today, the governors at the state level and the local government's autonomy are yielding more development right in our face. Therefore, on this 65th anniversary of our independence, my message is hope and a call to action. The federal government will continue to do its part to fix the plumbing in our economy. Now, we must all turn on the taps of productivity, innovation, and enterprise, just like the Ministry of Interior has done with our travel passports, by quickening the processing. In this regard, I urge the subnational entities to join us in nation building. Let us be a nation of producers, not just consumers. Let us farm our land and build factories to process our produce. Let us patronize made in Nigeria. I say Nigeria first. All the goods, let us pay our taxes as well. Finally, let all hands be on deck. Let us believe once more in the boundless potential of our great nation. With Almighty God on our side, I can assure you that the dawn of a new, prosperous, self-reliant is here in Nigeria. Happy 65th Independence Anniversary. And may God continue to bless the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Amen.
Happy 65th Independence Anniversary to Nigeria. President Bola Tinubu giving his third Independence Day speech on this momentous occasion. Good morning and a warm welcome to your perfect day starter, The Morning Brief. I'm Kayode Okikulu.
A warm welcome on a very cold, rainy 65th Independence Day anniversary. Welcome to your Morning Brief, when we make it even warmer and more delightful. I am Bukola Koka.
Well, we all got the memo addressed in Nigeria's colors this morning. And I must say, it's a beautiful one. I saw the flag yesterday, and I'm like, come on, this flag is simple, but beautiful. But let's pay attention to some of the things President Bola Tinubu said in his 65th Independence Day nationwide broadcast. And he sort of likened the federal government to plumbers, basically doing their part to plumb Nigeria's economy. And Nigerians themselves, he says, must tap into that productivity by opening the taps in innovation, enterprise, and all of that. That was the crux of the president's message. But if you do a breakdown of it, you realize that the president spent about 34% of that speech focusing on the nation's economy. So the economy took the largest chunk of President Bola Tinubu's Independence Day speech. Education, 8%. Security, 4% of that speech. The youth had 13%. He talked about history, national unity, that took about 17%. But hope and call to action also took 17%. So if you're looking for a breakdown of the president's speech, the economy took over 30% of it.
Well, that was very quick in breaking down statistically the president's speech. But of course, we cannot ignore the fact that the president has highlighted some of the key achievements of his administration. 12 economic achievements, to be precise, when you consider, the management of the GDP, debt to GDP ratio, improvement in tax to GDP. Of course, you also find that he's also speaking about the significant drop in inflation, GDP growth rate, according to the president, the fastest in 4 years, defying economic projections by the international economic organizations. The president also spoke to key reforms of his administration, some of the promises that he has been able to deliver when you consider the NEL Fund loan scheme to students. According to the president, 512,000 students have so far benefited, with over 100 billion naira disbursed in tuition and in allowances. The president also spoke about credit core, to civil servants to enable them purchase, cars, homes, and indeed, home renovation under that, list as well. He also spoke about another scheme that has been delivered to NYSC. According to the breakdown that Kayode has given us, the youths also took a very significant chunk of the president's speech. But when you consider these key economic reforms and some of the gains that the administration is reporting, the question is, how much has these strides translated into gross national happiness, according to, our key, information statistician at home here at Channels Television. So what is it for you? Have we moved closer to the aspirations, to the visions of the visionaries of Nigeria from October 1, 1960, when you consider, the strides, the commitment, and of course, the dreams of Tafawa Balewa, the first Prime Minister, Chief Obafemi Awolowo, Chief Nnamdi Azikiwe. How close are we to the Nigeria of our dreams? Do you derive fulfillment so far, from what you see Nigeria moving towards in terms of transformation? Those are the key questions that we must also, put out, whatever it is that is being reported to us, regardless, under this administration. And we might also want to scrutinize those strides, from just before this administration as well. Kayode.
Absolutely, Bukola. And it's important to note that a lot of the comparison that the president made was basically within either this party, the APC, or his government, saying in the past 3 years, this is where we are right now. This is the highest in the past 3 years. So a lot of the comparison is still within the same context of either the APC government or his own government since he came to power in 2023. But I quite like the start of the speech, I must say, the acknowledgement of not just the founding fathers, Bukola, but the founding heroes and heroines. We've used the term founding fathers a lot, that it sort of removes the role of women and girls in nation building. I don't know, this will be definitely an issue to debate, some sort of an argumentative point in the coming days or minutes. And that's the fact that he listed a few names: Herbert Macaulay, Dr. Nnamdi Azikiwe, Sir Abubakar Tafawa Balewa, Chief Obafemi Awolowo, Sir Madu Bello, Margaret Ekbo, Anthony Enawuru, Ladoke Akintola, Michael Kwara, Aminu Kano, Fumilayo Ransom Kuti, and other nationalists. Usually a lot of people say, oh, okay, some names are missing there. But I must say that first, I like the fact that he acknowledged the heroes and heroines. Yes, not as much as the heroes, but it's important to always send that message. Whether or not there are meant to be more names on this list, I'm not going to get into that this morning, but I must acknowledge that that was a good way to go back in time. I must also say that it was quite interesting seeing the president compare education then with now, but also acknowledging that we need to build more schools. So it was mixed messaging in that sense. But here's what we'll do. Let us know what you think about President Bola Tinubu's Independence Day speech, his nationwide broadcast, his third as president of Nigeria, the 65th, the 10th, well, in the life of the All Progressives Congress, I must say, because it's 10 years since the All Progressives Congress came to power. So let us know what you think about President Bola Tinubu's Independence Day speech. I must say the 11th since APC came to power. But there's an email on the screen. Send us your email. What are your thoughts on the President's Independence Day speech this morning?
Yes, Kaide, you couldn't ignore that indeed the President made those comparisons about what education was back, you know, at the beginning of nationhood and what it is now. And, you know, perhaps we should remind Mr. President that ASU is giving government an 11-day ultimatum, you know, to resolve those issues, those gray areas as far as welfare of Nigerian lecturers in the ivory towers are concerned. So those comparisons may be testy at this particular point in time when you consider results as against the efforts that have been put, you know, into building our tertiary institutions. Just recently, you know, the Ministry of Education had to put, you know, a definitive check on the appetite for the establishment of more universities because of, you know, the lack of the resources or the wherewithal, you know, to manage the establishment of more universities as against what we already have. But the president also made some key remarks that we may also want to reflect on. When you go to paragraph 3 of Mr. President's speech, he also talked about, you know, acknowledging that we may not have achieved the vision of our founding fathers, which is key to reflections for every independence anniversary. But he says that we haven't strayed too far from them. According to the president, in 65 years since our independence, we have made tremendous progress in economic growth and social cohesion. That I want to pick out, social cohesion. How far are we towards that goal of having a sense of oneness as Nigerians, as against, you know, a sense of, you know, parochialism, you know, being from one particular part of the country. There were many efforts, you know, towards, you know, that particular goal, with the president saying yesterday that we shouldn't speak ill of Nigeria. And of course, the Minister of Information speaking just 2 days back about, you know, debunking a particular report that Christians are being targeted. We must also acknowledge that particular commentary and drive towards national oneness. The efforts of the Ministry of the National Orientation Agency, you know, towards coming up with our national values charter. But these efforts, mark you, Kayode, they're always tested at every electioneering period when politicians take advantage of tribal sentiments, you know, to drive their aspirations. But of course, we must acknowledge the efforts of the administration in that direction as well.
There you have it. So the ball is your court now as a Nigerian, whether you're in Nigeria or in the diaspora. Let us know your thoughts on the president's nationwide broadcast on the occasion of Nigeria's 65th Independence Day anniversary. Lots of talking points, I must say. The speech went on for almost 30 minutes, one of the longest the president has done. So you can imagine that in the coming hours, days, and even weeks, there'll be a lot of breakdown. So we're starting right here on the show this morning. We're joined on the program by the National Publicity Secretary of the ADC, Mr. Bolaji Abdullahi. He joins us virtually this morning. We'll also be joined by the National Publicity Secretary of the APC, Mr. Felix Morka. But Mr. Abdullahi, good morning. Warm welcome to the program. Let me start by, of course, wishing you a happy Independence Day celebration. I haven't listened to the president for you. I know that you understand how these speeches are written. You've been on that side as well. What do you take home from the president's speech?
That question is for me, right?
Yes, Mr. Abdullahi, that's for you.
Okay. Thank you very much. Happy Independence Anniversary to you in the studio and to all Nigerians. I listened to part of the president's speech, and I also listened to your review of your review of the speech itself. I must say, as a citizen, not just as a party, as an opposition party spokesperson, as a citizen of Nigeria, I must say that I'm profoundly disappointed because, and why do I say so? The 65th anniversary of a nation like Nigeria, or any nation at all, is quite significant. But listening to the president, you would think that what he was delivering was his budget speech or his annual performance review, rather than speaking to a history of a nation like Nigeria at this critical time. I was waiting for when the president will anchor everything he was saying within a historical context. But apparently, the president was not able to rise above the limitations of his administration. He saw it as an opportunity to campaign. He saw it as an opportunity to say, oh, this is what we have done, this is what we have done, this is what we have done. And if that is not bad enough, much of what the president claimed to have achieved, we can't deny some of them, but majority of what the president has said, you analyze that this president spent 30% of the speech talking about the economy. And most of what the president said regarding the economy does not reflect the reality of Nigeria. And if you go out and ask the press and ask Nigerians the meaning of, for me, the way I will sum it up is that yet again, the president's speechwriters fail to understand the historical significance of this moment. And in speaking about the economy especially, the president appeared to be speaking to economic experts and analysts rather than speaking to the reality of Nigerians. And it's quite shocking, profoundly shocking indeed, that the president spoke about, you said that the president spoke about security. Only 44% of his speech was dedicated to the insecurity in the country. I think there's something quite misaligned in the president speaking at this time and just mentioning insecurity in passing, when every single day Nigerians live in fear. We had the story of your colleague that was killed as a result of the armed robbery attack in Abuja, the seat of power, just a few kilometers away from the Aso Rock Villa. My state, Kwara State, used to be one of the safest states in the country. Now whole villages have been sacked and people being murdered in broad daylight without any let or hindrance. Nobody is disturbing them. The president is talking about gallant soldiers. The number of our military men that are being killed every single day with impunity by bandits is unspeakable. And let us not make a mistake. Even the numbers that are being reported are grossly underreported if you know what is going on. So for me, I think it's a big disappointment that the president did not understand the historical significance of this moment and rather chose to use the budget speech to say, oh, this is what my government has done. It is not about the 65th anniversary or independent anniversary of Nigeria. It's not about his government. It's about the country. And the president failed to speak to the country. He failed to speak to the reality. He failed to speak to our past, and he failed to inspire our future. And I find it quite disappointing that the president is speaking like a party man rather than as a national leader that is occupying this seat at this time in history. So I will stop there if you have another so that we can continue.
Okay, let me take this to Mr. Moka, but I'll come back to you, Mr. Abdullahi. Quite a number of things, perhaps specifics as to what you'll have loved to hear about the historical context, right? Because when we're doing the breakdown, we saw that the percentage of history and perhaps national unity was about 17% compared to the 34% on the economy, 17%. In fact, 13% for the youth and 17% for call to action and hope for the future. But Mr. Moka, for Mr. Abdullahi, he has said, well, first off, this was very low on historical context. This is meant to be a historical speech and not a budget speech, as it were. He says the president spent a lot of time talking about his achievements. What do you have to say to this, Mr. Moka?
Thank you very much, Kayode. Now, I listened to the president's speech, which I thought was, completely comprehensive and hit all of the necessary notes that are critical to Nigerians and critical to the moment and very critical to the evolution of our national life. There's no aspect that speech did not touch. Yes, he dwelt on the economy because the economy is central to the well-being of Nigerians. It's central to the development of our country. It's central to even an understanding of where we're coming from and where we need to go. I'm not sure what my dear brother is referring to as, the significance of the moment. What significance of the moment? I think I counted about 4 times that he used that phrase, significance of the moment. I was waiting and hoping that he would also actually just say what that moment is that the president did not speak to. Look, I think that anyhow the president gave this speech, I know my dear friend will have a lot to say because that's his job, speaking from the opposition. But I think that what we should be discussing is not the view of any single individual or group of people in any political part. I think it's what Nigerians think, which is why I hear you when you were asking, what does this all mean for our people at home? Now, Kayode, sometimes you get the answers to a question that you ask. When you ask that question the way you asked it, of course, you almost telegraph the answer to that question. Because we know that if things were different, if the economic numbers and indicators were different, we're all in the negative today, you will also frame a question to interrogate what the government has done or is doing. But the president is reporting numbers that are very, very encouraging, numbers that are pointing Nigeria in the right direction. And every country of the world has its moment, its economic, periods, the down times, the up times, and that time when people struggle and are hopeful that things change. We are no different. Even some of the richest countries in the world go through that. We have gone through that. And the president was very clear. He tracked that history and said, look, you know what? I was handed an economy that had been generationally battered by those who governed before him. And as president, he took an oath to tackle those problems for Nigeria. Because see, if the macroeconomic, framework is flawed, you cannot possibly begin to speak about the possibility of microeconomic, progress, where things on the dining tables, in the kitchen, everywhere, when it comes to the lives of people, begin to actually, see that transformation that we often ask, what does this mean for our people at home? What does it mean for the prices?
Mr. Moka.
Yes.
One of the things that Mr. Abdullahi has pointed out is the misalignment between the progress that the president is reporting and, the realities of Nigerians in their homes, on their tables, and in their pockets. So the question really is, how much time should Nigerians give this administration that is commending them for the sacrifice? How much more time, before they begin to reap the gains that is being talked about? And Perhaps we should also remind you that Mr. President is perhaps the architect of the last administration in the merger of the political party and in selling former president to Nigerians. And Mr. President acknowledged in his speech that he inherited a near-collapsed economy. Shouldn't we be asking Mr. President to apologize to Nigerians for selling an administration that nearly collapsed our economy? I'd like you to speak to those issues, Mr. Moka, before we go to Mr. Abdullahi.
Yes, Bukola, please. When he was speaking, he didn't get an interruption. And the question you're asking was exactly what I was, framing and responding to. I was delivering my perspective on that before you came in with the question to, again, underscore the same point I was trying to make. However, I've heard this question a million times. And sometimes I wonder why, the question continues to come as you frame it. Now, because our democracy did not start with President Buhari. It began in 1999. This journey that we are on today began in 1999. And from 1999 to 2015, APC was not in government. APC came along in 2015, 16 years after this journey began. But when this question is framed, you frame it as though life in Nigeria began in 2015 when President Buhari was elected to office. It didn't. You frame the question as though all of the problems and the challenges we're dealing with today began in 2015. They didn't. You frame it as though between 1999 and 2015, Nigeria did not have any opportunity to set everything right, to abolish poverty, to abolish insecurity. You make it sound like those governments who governed for 16 years didn't have the duty to do so. But that duty belonged to APC in the last 10 years. You also frame it as though all of the revenues, massive revenues, oil selling for $100 per barrel for years under the PDP, that was clearly frittered away in profligate, reckless corruption. You make it sound like that did not exist, and that what we're dealing with today had nothing, no connection to that past. You see, what I'm saying is that if you must look at government as a continuum and look at the spectrum of time where government has operated in this country and not delivered the promise that it owed to Nigerians, then you must be fair enough to take that system as that time span into account. But when you constantly, punctuate it and say, 2019, this president must apologize. Apologize for what? Who apologized for the 16 years of PDP that led us to the point where Buhari himself was simply a stopgap president, was a placeholder to hold things in place so Nigeria does not tip over the edge? Who apologized for those years? You see, so I think that, this president is giving an account of his administration and giving a credible, believable, realistic, and, cheering account of the work he's done over the last 2 years to reset the economy that was battered and damaged, not just over the last 10 years, but over the last, period since 1999. So I think we need to be fair, and we need to be, not simply just, get pedestrian with the way we frame this as though Nigeria fell from the sky 10 years ago. It didn't. It didn't.
Let me bring this to you, Mr. Abdullahi. I'm sure you have one or two things to say about Mr. Moka's commentary as far as Mr. President's speech is concerned. But you also spoke to, what you perceive to be the President's inability to have spoken to the future of Nigeria, to the youth. But that is very evident, as the President drew to a close in his speech when he spoke to some of his administration's initiatives like NEL Fund, like the Youth Credit Scheme, and of course the other schemes to the NYSC as well. And there was also a call to action to the youth. So Mr. President may have prioritized the youth, in the opinion of some, in this speech. Mr. Abdullahi.
Thank you very much, Bukola. Before I answer that question, I want to go back to what my friend Mr. Felix Moka said about administrative accountability. You posed the right question, that out of 26 years of democracy since 1999, APC has been in power for 10 years now running. And the party that Nigerians voted for was APC. Nigerians didn't vote for President Bola Tinubu's name. Nigeria voted for APC. He tried to defend that by saying the economy was battered before President Buhari came. And what President Buhari met was President Buhari was a stopgap president who then handed over to President Bola Tinubu that is now working heroically to fix the economy. The facts don't support that position. As he was talking, I was checking. By 2016, inflation was 17.6%. By 2017, it was 16.5%. By 2018, it was down to 10.9%. Today, the inflation is 22%. So what I'm saying is that the previous administration, the PDP administration, did not hand over a battered economy. That is the narrative they try to communicate, and they keep repeating, hoping that it will become reality. But when you subject it to evidence, it actually does not stand. This economy, the APC administration in the last 10 years have been a disaster and been catastrophic for Nigeria. And the evidence is there in every single household in this country. So don't let them tell us that, oh, the 16 years, it was wasted. The 1999 to 2007 of President Obasanjo more or less created a new Nigeria in historical context. Almost every institution of government you can point at in this country today was created by President Olusegun Obasanjo. President Obasanjo got a complete total debt relief for Nigeria, which have now been rebuilt by this administration. And every international forum the president goes to, he talks about debt forgiveness. And we're taking this debt, the world cannot see what we're using it for. But what I'm saying is that we should please respect facts. So when I said the president was not speaking to historical significance of the moment, I said the president has reduced the history of Nigeria in the last 65 years to a scorecard of his administration. And that is wrong. The president, who is a statesman, he ought to rise above partisanship. He ought to speak to the profundity of this moment. You need to speak to Nigerians. And for example, you are asking me, what is that historical significance? I just mentioned one now. Nigeria's democracy is, in the context of Nigeria's history since October 1, 1960, is 26 years now. In those 26 years, Nigerians have experienced coming out to vote for people who will govern them. But can we say that Nigerians have reaped the benefit of democracy? Yes, democracy has come to stay. And we have children, a significant population of Nigerians who we call democracy natives, who never lived under military rule. They are in the majority in this country today. But their experience of democracy is not commensurate with the aspiration and vision of democracy. So if you ask them, what does democracy mean to these younger people who form the majority, they will tell you, apart from coming out to vote, it doesn't mean much. The president had the opportunity of this anniversary to say this is what democracy represents. And yet we may be failing in delivering the outcome, the real outcome of democracy. But this is a historic journey. 65 years is too little. Is too little in the life of a country. The president should project a long-term vision that will continue to resonate with younger people long after it's gone. But he failed to do that. He reduced everything to what his government is doing in the last 2 years. I think Nigeria's history started in the last 2 years. So that is that about that. Now you talked about youth. Now let's talk specifically about education. What this administration is doing, they like to talk about NEL fund, that they are giving young people loan to go to school. Oh, that is very good. I mean, if government is giving people money to go to school who ordinarily will not be able to go to school, that is fine. But the fundamental question that you expect this administration to address is that every single year we are turning out about 500,000 core members from our higher institutions. 90% of who end up jobless. When are we going to match our economy with our product of our higher education? That's what you expect this government to be talking about. What kind of economy exists in this country today? What kind of sectors are creating jobs? And are we able to match the product, the content of our curriculum with the kind of job that Nigeria's economy is able to create? What is the point in giving degrees to children who will come out and have no job? You see young people who have degrees in economics, who have degrees in microbiology, and they end up and going back to learn how to make dress and how to do hair fashion. So if these are the jobs that are available to them, why don't we begin to redefine our content, the curriculum of our higher institution to fit the kind of economy? So what I'm saying is that we don't have enough time to talk about all this. But all these things that they parade as achievement, they are just superficial propaganda, a headline catching achievements. And I mean this very seriously, because if you want to talk about education, we can talk about it from today till tomorrow. Whatever they are doing, we are talking about 13 million children out of school. Has that number reduced? We're talking about education in the early days of the independence. Now, let's make this point before I stop.
Right.
In the early days of independence, Nigeria used education to redefine the society. Children from every poor home climb up the social ladder in the country by the mere fact of getting education. Children of farmers, of carpenters, by the mere fact of getting education, became the new middle class and dragged their family with them up the social ladder. Today, is that the case? To get basic education today, you must be rich. To even be able to give your children primary education, you must be rich. So what kind of achievements are we talking about? So we can talk about this for on and on and on, but what we are saying is that the president has yet again failed to address the issues that concern Nigeria. Nigerians are afraid. A recent report said Nigeria is divided today more than ever before. The reports are there. I didn't write them. The president didn't speak to this. He's talking about NEM fund. He's talking about 330 billion to poor household. Which household? What social infrastructure do we have to distribute 330 billion? Is that somebody is deceiving the president, or the president doesn't know what is going on?
All right, Mr. Abdullahi, let's throw this to Nigerians, because we asked earlier on for Nigerians to let us know what they think about President Bola Tinubu's 65th Independence Day speech. And it's important to sort of have this roundtable conversation, so Nigerians also get their voices heard. I mean, you have spoken, Mr. Moka have spoken, but how about Nigerians? And I must tell you that Nigerians are speaking this morning. Quite a number of mails that have come in. I'll take this one from Idris Shonobi, saying, I watched the president's broadcast. I want to say I'm impressed with the nation-building effort. The president is someone I believe can deliver the dividends of democracy. However, this viewer says the setback Nigeria is facing is the lack of accountability of a state government and the federal government. The removal of fuel subsidy should translate to grassroots development, but that is not the reality. This user believes that it's due to corruption in the state and local governments. Also, the security challenge of the nation can't be solved by the FG alone. He says, we need a determined state and local government to bolster the FG effort. We need a working local government and state government to deliver the dividends of democracy. That's from Idris Shonobi.
And this one is from Olainka, who says, I'm 44 years old, and for the first time since I was born, a president gave an independence anniversary speech that touched all critical sectors crying for help, showed empathy, and gave hope. Beyond mere rhetorics, I like how he backed up claims with numbers, an indication that the president is involved in the real governance and he gets feedback. I like that he acknowledged every cadre and group in Nigeria, the youth, students, workers, and businesses. I'm not a politician, but I see the economic trend and I understand the basis for the temporary pains. My hope feels renewed. God bless the Federal Republic of Nigeria. God bless Mr. President with wisdom and good health. God bless all Nigerians. Now, it seems as if Mr. President's speech is like an elephant, so whichever path you touch may be different for each person.
And that's a good point you make, Bukola, because Sheson Rotimi, who's the next viewer, says, well, happy 65th Independence Anniversary to Nigeria. We're already aware, this is a says, of some of the things Mr. President mentioned in his speech, the major problem of this country is insecurity and corruption. What is it doing to address these monsters, Sheson Rotimi is asking?
Yeah, well, we'll put that through very shortly to Mr. Moka. But this one, let's quickly take it from Eligu Godwin, who says, good morning. The message from Mr. President was fantastic, but he failed to compare the quality of education then and now. The quality of education at that time was quite better than now. This is from Eliagu Godwin. Oof. You have the one from Zubairu.
Yeah,
Friday.
So the jury's out there on the education bit. But take a look at Zubairu Bello's message, saying the message is obvious, speaking to President's speech. The biggest achievement of his administration is reviving the economy. Happy 65th Independence Day to you all. So those are some of the mails. By the way, if you want to get your own voice heard as well, you can send us a mail right now to the email address on your screen. Let us know your thoughts on President Bola Tinubu's Independence Day nationwide broadcast. We'll be taking more during the course of the program, because this is not a program for just both of us and our guests. It's also for you as a Nigerian. Let us know what you think, the speech, and your own reality. But Mr. Moka, there's a particular mail that's basically asked about what the president is doing to fix insecurity and corruption. Mr. Abdullahi also talked about insecurity in his home state of Kwara, talked about our colleague that was killed in the armed robbery incident at her residence and eventual events that played out at the hospital. So these are real events that Nigerians can feel. So speak to us about what is being done to handle issues around insecurity and corruption, particularly now.
Kayode, let me say that, national reality for Nigeria is stark, has been stark for a very long time. Before I answer your specific question, again, let me circle back to what my friend was, some of the points he was making. President Tinubu took an oath to govern. He is governing. Other presidents before him took their oath of office to govern. They governed. My friend was a minister of the Federal Republic in one of those administrations. He was a participant in a lot of the historical mess that was made that are absolutely undeniable. You see, when people sit back because of their political purpose and they want to reduce progress and they simply conjure up what ought to have been done that they didn't do when they had the moment to do that. One of the key actors under his watch was the former Vice President Atiku Abubakar, who today is probably, seeking to run for maybe the 10th time. I know I'm exaggerating. But he had the opportunity, sitting as Vice President with the likes of Abdullahi, to fix this country, to all of the things Abdullahi, presented today as what this president should be doing. They had the moment to do that. They didn't. But now they're asking Nigerians to hand them a new opportunity to do what they could not do, for 16 years. You see, I'm going to leave it at that, because I think that some of the feedback you're getting from Nigerians contradicts and nullify all of those sentimental and very provocative arguments that my friend was trying to make. Corruption. Corruption, obviously, is a horrific phenomenon that has undermined progress of our country for a very long time. Whether it was under the military system or under now, our democratic system, corruption has been a major factor in Nigeria's underdevelopment. And every president has come along has actually attempted to tackle corruption with varying results. But this president, on the first day as president, on the day of his inauguration, made decisions that hit at the heart of corruption, the very monstrosity of corruption in our country. The president touched it and took it down in a way that was, unprecedented. Took out fuel subsidy, tackled the second monster, which was, the whole dual, meaningless, corrupt foreign exchange system that we operated for decades. You see, when my friend talked about, in 2016, inflation was, this number, in 2010, inflation was this number, that was phantom economy. Those numbers came from an economy that was, not market-driven, economy that was dictated, where the value of our currency was simply fixed arbitrarily without reference to, Nigeria's productive capacity. And we had to then subsidize massively to maintain those, systems. You cannot then take the result in that era, where everything was controlled, managed, where it was not in fact responsive to the realities of, our economy, but was simply phantom systems imposed by those who govern at the time for their own comfort. You cannot take that to, compare to what is going on today, where the economy is standing firm on sound footing, on sound economic logic, on market-driven realities. You cannot compare. And so what we're seeing today is what you get, which is why investor confidence is surging today in our country, which is why all of the systems that benefited a few people to the detriment of the millions of Nigerians in the fuel subsidy system, in the really corrupt foreign exchange system, those have been eliminated, now paving way for the country to tackle more pedestrian levels of corruption. Because without taking those out, we didn't stand a chance at all to scratch the surface of corruption, because that was the breeding ground, that was the epicenter of corruption in our country. And the president, in one fell swoop, brought that down. And now we have nowhere to go but up. And which is why the president's speech today is resonating with Nigerians who listen, who are giving you feedback that this president and his, presentation was, struck the chord for them. So we are delighted that Nigeria is moving ahead, irrespective of the base sentiments of, politicians who simply want to, throw in the spanner to, spoil the wheel so we can continue to be grounded, so they can continue to, calculate their own political advantage. That is not in the interest of Nigerians, and Nigerians are speaking very loud and clear. I have also been reviewing a lot of commentary in chat rooms and all of that, and I can tell you that the majority of Nigerians today are excited about what this president delivered this morning, Independence Day speech.
Mr. Moka,
if
I may come in there yet again, I believe you have landed this time around. Some of the comments coming through from Nigerians, some of them are also reflecting on the need for results as against the economic gains that the president is posting. But just before I take this to Mr. Abdullahi, I'd like you to speak to a sticking point in the administration's reforms, which is, the corruption aspect. You speak about the need for fuel subsidy. Of course, we all see the consequence of fuel subsidy. But some would say that even the former administration prosecuted oil thieves. If the administration acknowledges that, the subsidy regime was corrupt, why has it not prosecuted fuel subsidy thieves? If you can answer that in 60 seconds, such that I can take it to Mr. Abdullahi.
Just to be clear, I understood you. I heard you right. You were asking why they have not prosecuted the oil subsidy thieves? Is that what you're asking?
Yes, Mr. Moka.
Look, Bukola, don't forget, this is a president that just met his 2-year mark and is pushing to 3 years. He was elected for a 4-year term. Now, are you suggesting that the decisions made to take out fuel subsidy and flow the Naira with the result we're seeing now that are yielding positive benefits for our country? It's one thing at a time. Now, can you imagine? People say, look, fuel subsidy should have been kept, and even when the country was, near bankrupt, we should have just maintained it so that, Nigerians can continue to have, cheap access to fuel while the country, just set itself deep in rot. This president said no. So look, we will get there. If you're not seeing that yet, we will get there because, the president wants, first of all, to hold still, set the economy, reset the economy as he's doing, and have the results begin to show. And I think incrementally, over the next, the remainder of the 4 years that he has as his term of office, I believe that, decisions we made that touch on the micro crimes committed by individuals. But right now, the big picture, resetting the economy, I think that's the priority which the president is tackling, and rightly so.
Again, the hope factor is coming through. But let's take you to Mr. Abdullahi. Mr. Abdullahi, I'm sure you have quite a number of reactions to Mr. Moka's commentary. Please go ahead.
Well, I was a bit surprised that Mr. Moka went for my personal. I must have said something that annoyed him and made him go for personal attack. Well, I don't know how much Mr. Moka know about me. I didn't serve with President Obasanjo or President Atiku Abubakar. I served with President Goodluck Jonathan. And lest you forget, I was Minister of Sports and Youth Development, and my records are there. And your administration has not come close to what we achieved in those years in sports. So let us leave that, unless you want to give me opportunity to beat my own, to blow my own trumpet. But I'm not going to waste time talking about that this morning. You see, let us get some things clear. You talked about corruption, and Mr. Moka's defense or reaction is that the president ended subsidy. And that is the evidence that the president was out to fight corruption. But one thing we need to understand is that there's no country in the world that does not provide one kind of subsidy to its people, its most vulnerable people. What this government has done is, instead of sanitizing the subsidy administration, which is the problem. Subsidy itself is not the problem. They have not said subsidy is the problem. They are saying that it's the administration and the management of subsidy that is the problem. Now, instead of dealing with the management and the administration of subsidy, they found it easy to remove subsidy, and of course we've seen the catastrophic effect that has had on the livelihood of Nigerians. Right. Now, to add to that, at the same time, the government went ahead and floated the currency. Now, the twin effect of that is what has created the economic calamity that Nigerians have found themselves today. Because when you do any government that, no matter how well intentioned your policies are, what you expect that the first thing you will consider is how is this intervention going to affect the lives of Nigerians. Now, they said they are no longer paying subsidy, but what you will expect is that because they are no longer paying subsidy, this is the outcome. This is what we have saved as a result of not longer paying subsidy. You expect that hospitals will probably. I agree that all these are not just the responsibility of the federal government alone. Right. The state governments are also making more money than before. But the most important point is that in terms of tackling corruption, the corruption under this administration is still enjoying so much prosperity than ever before. And I'll give you two instances.
Mr. Abdullahi, we have to anchor in 30. Mr. Abdullahi, pardon me. We have to anchor in 30 seconds so we can also take the views of other Nigerians. So if you could just keep it in that time. Thank you.
So I was saying that the president mentioned the Sokoto-Calabar, Sokoto-Badagry-Sokoto highway. How much was that contract awarded for? Who was it awarded to? Where did the bidding take place? What is the provision of the Public Procurement Act? Did the Public Procurement Act allow for a government to award a contract running into billions of dollars without open and competitive bidding. How many of these projects that this government is talking about have been subjected to open and competitive bidding? If that is not corruption, then what it is? So we can go on and on, but that is just one instance. So when they are talking about them, and when I'm talking about this, Mr. Moka think we are saying this just because we represent the opposition. No, we are also Nigerians primarily.
Right.
And it's not everything we say that is about politics. It's also because we have a stake here, we have children here, and we want the president to succeed. We want him to govern. So when we say some of these things, it's not because we don't want him, it's because we want him to do better and we are paying attention to it.
Well, we have to anchor now, Malam Balaji Abdullahi, and thank you for your time. I mean, we could go on and on about this, but I think the major factor here that binds us together is Nigeria and our love for our nation. So wherever we are, whoever we are, we must do our best to ensure all hands are on deck. Mr. Balaji Abdullahi, spokesperson of the AGC, we have to thank you so much for your time. Former minister as well. In fact, I could go on and on, as well as Mr. Felix Moka, the National Publicity Secretary of the All Progressives Congress, the ruling party. Thank you so much for your time. And once again, a happy Independence Day celebration to you.
Thank you very much. Happy Independence Anniversary. Happy Independence Anniversary to my brother, Felix Moka.
Thank you so much, Balaji and Kayode.
Thank you very much. There you go. That's what really matters, the love for nation, love for country. But let's take some more messages from you. Atiang Uje says about the president's speech, of course, that the part I love the most is where the president said our economy will not only be based only on fair statistics until there's food on the table for every family, electricity for our industries, and security in our communities.
That's at the heart of the matter. I was trying to let Mr. Moka know that there's a bigger umbrella of the comments coming through. This one is from Udoma Mwangi, who says, in his broadcast, President Tinubu highlighted impressive economic milestones, a 4.23% GDP growth in Q2 2025, the fastest in 4 years, a 44.3% surge in trade surplus to 7.46 trillion naira, and a booming stock market reaching 142,000 points. He spoke of sovereign credit upgrades and reforms bearing fruit, urging patience as we see light at the end of the tunnel. Yet for families like mine, these figures feel like distant echoes from another Nigeria.
I must say that Udoma Wagi's message is even much longer than that, but we just took some excerpts from it to help you get a sense of that message. Max Inode says the president's Independence Day speech is quite savory. Interesting choice of word. However, the analysis made throughout the speech is deceptive and misleading, he believes. The successes mentioned are like taking 10 steps backward and 1 step forward. It's this administration that has brought Nigeria and Nigerians to this pauperized state. Nigerians are poorer now than were before. This administration was birthed in 2023. This administration continues the negative trajectories of its predecessor, this user says. I must also say that it's a very interesting scenario when you look at the figures, actually, because the states will say they are earning more, for example. But again, the devil is in the detail, because when you look at the value of the naira itself, which is what they usually multiply to get the figure, you see that that has also reduced, by extension, increasing what they earn in naira terms. I could go on and on about this, but statistics and data can be an ass.
We have just a few seconds more to take one from Ungwakwe Ebenezer, who says, as a public office holder, you will never get it 100% right, but I extend my commendation and respect to President Bola Ahmed Tinubu for this visionary dispositions. His words reflect a deep commitment to nation building, unity, and ensuring that progress reaches every part of Nigeria. And this pretty much shows that the administration is enjoying a good dose of goodwill from Nigerians. If you consider that these are views aggregated from a cross-section of Nigerians, there is, the commendation part, and there is the part about the concern, about the disconnect between those figures and reality. but we hope that the administration is also, watching things as well and putting the necessary effort in order to ensure that results match the efforts and the Nigerians can smile. I think that's at the heart of the matter. Kayode.
There you have it. So keep your messages, mails coming in, your thoughts and take on the president's speech and the reality. As we said earlier on, it's almost like an elephant. Depends on where you feel, and that's how you interpret the president's speech. But as we said earlier on, if you do a proper analysis of the speech, 34.8% of the president's speech was on the economy, 8.7% was on education, 4% was on security. The youth took 13%. History, national unity, which is the significance of this occasion, took 17% of the speech. And of course, hope and the call to action was 17% as well. So we'll take more messages when we return, as well as pay attention to the security situation in Kwara State. What exactly is going on? Well, the government will be joining us to speak about the security situation there. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Welcome back, and once again, happy independence, 65th independence anniversary to all Nigerians. And we're talking about, what has been described as the president's savory speech as against what obtains in reality. Indeed, from that speech, you would find that the president was quite optimistic about security, and he said, men of the armed forces are making sacrifices daily to keep us safe, and that, the administration is winning the war against banditry and insurgency. But what obtains in reality? In Kwara State, there has been constant attacks. This is the second in about 2 months now, over the last 48 hours, in Ifelodun local government area, to be precise, Okiodo community, where about 15 vigilantes are said to have been killed by bandits. And during that attack, there were reports also that people were kidnapped. So this is what the people are reporting, but what is the government doing about it? Let's find out more about the security situation in Kwara State. And we have joining us Mr. Rafiu Ajakai. He's the Chief Press Secretary, Kwara State Governor. Mr. Ajakai joins us virtually from Kwara State. Good morning, and thank you for coming on the program, and happy 65th independence anniversary to you.
Good morning, madam. Happy independence to the people of Nigeria.
So talk to us about what exactly is happening in Ifelodun local government area. This is the second attack in about 2 months, and there is a consistent report coming through from the people there. This time around, they're saying that the government is not being forthright with the exact happenings, that the attack was not repelled, contrary to what the government is reporting.
Well, what happened in the morning of Sunday was quite unfortunate. It is regrettable. And once again, we send our commiserations to families who lost dear ones, particularly members of the vigilante, families of members of forest guards who incidentally are government employees technically. It's quite unfortunate. Yes, we've had our share of the incident happening across the country, but the government is not resting. The government is not negligent. The government is not unaware of a need to keep the people safe, and the government continues to work. Unfortunately, if you have followed the conversations, security conversation in Kwara State, you have seen that over the past few weeks, there have been constant arrests, seizures of arms. A few days ago, cannabis, several bags of cannabis, possibly headed towards these guys, were seized by the security agencies. And from time to time, there were engagement leading to elimination of several of these criminals. But unfortunately, the odds against the government is that you must be right 100% of the time. But I tell you that the government is not in any way resting. The government continues to work with every stakeholders, the traditional rulers, vigilantes, and the government on its own has recruited forest guards who number close to 1,000 incidentally, more than 70% of these people were stationed in this same community, managed different areas. But at the time the incident happened, it happened just when some of them have gone to their duty post. And if you follow the conversation again, you will see that the criminals targeted the position of the forest guards just when many of their colleagues have been dispatched to their areas. And unfortunately, that engagement happened. Several of them were also killed, in excess of 30 of them. Unfortunately, we lost 7 of our own forest guards and at least 8 other individuals, or more than that, from the communities. It is a very, very painful thing, but I tell you that it has, again, spurred the government and security agencies to do more to ensure that our people are kept safe.
Would like to know the specifics, because I know the governor has been meeting with security heads in the state, the military and the rest. So would like to know what exactly is at play here, because I want to imagine that the government and the governor, of course, has his finger on the pulse of the situation. Are these bandits or terrorists? Are these, you use the term criminals, but we need to be clear who these people are and what are they after? Why are they invading these communities?
I think I need to get your question again. Were you asking about the specifics of what the government has done or what?
No, the specifics. We'll get to what the government is doing. The specifics, and I just want to be clear, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Oh, fantastic. So the specifics, who are these people? Are they bandits, terrorists? Because you've used the term criminal, but we need to be clear who they are. Are they bandits or terrorists? Where are they from? And why are they there? What are they doing invading those communities?
Well, the truth is categorization of these individuals is a very technical thing. If I call them terrorists, that takes us to another layer, and I don't want to get bogged down into the technicalities of the names. However, criminals are criminals. Anybody who decides to hurt fellow human beings, particularly gunning them down, they are criminals. There are no two ways about it. But the government, like I mentioned to you, the government works with local vigilantes. The government works with the forest guards. The government has hired forest guards. I mentioned the number before. And the government, more importantly, works with the military, the police, the National Security Advisor. As I talk to you now, several operatives from the Office of the National Security Advisor are in Kwara as we speak. You are aware that the General Officer Commanding of the 2nd Division of the Nigerian Army has also been directed to relocate immediately to Kwara State. I'll speak to you. He is in Kwara State. Yesterday he was at Ukiode, and I heard that he also headed to Babanla. And if you look at Babanla, these individuals we are talking about had been there for several years. They have hibernated in an ungoverned area called an area called Babashago. Now, there is a need for people to understand the size of the area we are talking about. If you look at Ifelodun as a local government out of the 16 local government in Kwara State, if you look at it, the size of Ifelodun is 92% of the size of Lagos State. To put it in context. Now, when you now look at the areas where we are having this situation, it's happening majorly in Ilere district and Orago district. When you look at these two districts combined, they constitute 43% of Ifelodun local government itself, and the forest where these guys are hibernating, the Babashago axis, inward Kogi, and of course towards Niger, when you go towards Edu and Patigi, is a very large expanse of land. And the decision of the government, which government is working with the security agencies, is to ensure that these guys are bombarded away from that place. That is ongoing.
Let me quickly follow up, because it's important to ensure that people understand what is at play here. And that's important to getting the buy-in of even the communities and people to help you in this fight against insecurity, right? And that ties to even the theme of the Independence Day celebration, all hands on deck. So we need to be clear what is at play here. And I know you have the information. So it's been said that these bandits, that's what they've been described as, first speak a foreign language, they don't speak the language of the community in Okeode 1, that their mission is to displace the indigents of Okeode, grab their lands. So that is what is being said. It's also been said that when the attacks happened, that the security operatives failed to respond. In fact, it's been said that the guns of the local vigilantes were taken from them. So those four issues, I want you to speak to them pointedly. Is this about displacing the people, grabbing their lands by these bandits whom people say speak another language? Also, what happened to the security response? Were their guns really taken from them?
Well, this is a pure case of criminality. People are prying in on innocent people, abducting them and demanding for ransom. That is pure criminality. There was also the question of whether some people withdraw arms or whatever. If I get it right, did you say that?
That's been the narrative, that the guns of some of these vigilantes and people were taken from them, so they couldn't even respond well.
Well, there are allegations that arms were withdrawn from the forest guards. But I have personally spoken with the leader of the forest guards, and he told me that was not exactly the case. It was quite unfortunate that what happened. I mentioned earlier at the beginning of this conversation that early in the morning every day, these guys found themselves into different sectors. You go there, and then some people remain. It is those people who were remaining that these guys attacked. And of course, they also fought back. Quite unfortunately, we lost a few of them.
I'm going to double down on some of the concerns raised by Kayode but from maybe a slightly different perspective, which is government's responsiveness to the situation. This didn't just start. In April, there were reports that a certain terror group had surfaced in Kayama local government area of Kwara State, Mahmuda. And the people are reporting that the weapons that is being wielded by these bandits are superior to the weapons being wielded by the vigilantes that have been employed by government. So the question is, why did the Kwara State government leave this to fester? Are there military operating bases positioned in this local government that are susceptible to attacks by the people, attacks by the bandits, rather?
Honestly, I struggle to get some of your question. My internet is probably bad, or maybe it's from your end. But if you are talking about whether or not the government is working to either curb some of these attacks or to even respond when they are called. Now, between 2022 and now, the government has facilitated the establishment of at least 3 to 4 forward operational bases of the military in different parts of the state. You spoke about the incident in Kayama. Yes, we had an incident in Kayama as a result of our closeness to Niger, where they were having serious issues. But between then and now, you hear, if you have followed the media report, that there was a massive military operation in that axis that cleared all of those people from the forest, particularly those people who were hibernating inside the Kanji Lake. So a lot is being done. Like I mentioned earlier, the odds against the government is that it has to be right 100% of the time. It is quite unfortunate that what happened, but it is not for lack of support or responsiveness by the government at the state level or at the federal government level. Yes, there are challenges, but those challenges are being looked at, and we are grateful to the Office of the National Security Advisor and the federal government for the support they've been providing us. Like I said, the GOC is in Kwara as we speak. Different officers from the NSC office are here. officers of the DSS, new ones are being deployed to Kwara State, and I'm very optimistic that we'll get over this very shortly.
When you say this, and I return to that question, what exactly is at play here? Help us understand. Because, criminality is categorized. So you have petty thieves, you have the pickpockets, and all of that. That's at the base level. You have robbers, armed robbers. That's an escalation. So it's, characterized. Then you have the assassins, the ones that is their job, and the security agencies fight against that. Then you can escalate this to banditry, terrorism. There's even the side of ethnic cleansing and all of that. What is at play here? Because you can't say it's just, criminality. There's obviously a trend here. I was just reading a mail from one of our viewers who, talked about insecurity in, I think, Patigi local government area and Kwara State in general. And we have other local government areas that are experiencing this. So obviously something is at play.
Okay, well, the major categorization at the level of the security agency is that you have kidnappers who are otherwise also called bandits. Now, that is the categorization as of now. Now, if you look at Patigi that you mentioned, you look at Ifelodun that you mentioned, and then you probably look at government that you mentioned. In Ifelodun also, when you look at this local government, you will see that they are connected in different ways through a very large expanse of land, thickly forested areas of land. Now, what's at play basically is that there is an ongoing massive military operation in part of Northwest. If you look at the Kanji Park, the Kanji National Park is a very large expanse of land that connects several states, Niger, Kebbi, Kwara, and some other states like that. So they are interlinked. Because of the operation in Northwest, because of the pressure on them in Northwest, these guys are trying to escape into North Central. And that's why when you look at what's happening in Niger, Kwara borders Niger, Kwara borders Kogi, where you have different instances of this banditry. So
Mr.
Kwara is having its share of that.
You can land on that thought.
Hello?
Please land on that thought that you were expressing.
Yeah, the point I'm making is that what is happening is categorized as banditry, and the government is responding as such. The government is deploying different approaches, military support, working with local vigilantes, getting intelligence so that we can nip the attack in the bud before they happen. And when attacks are ongoing, there are responses from different security agencies.
So you acknowledge that the pressure on the fight against insurgency and banditry in the Northwest has sort of led to an incursion into Kwara State that bears some proximity to these northwestern states. Doesn't it suggest that security operatives have dropped the ball in fortifying Kwara borders with these states?
I can no longer hear you.
You are saying that the pressure on the fight against insurgency and banditry has sort of led to an incursion of, these elements into Kwara State. That's what you have explained to us. Am I correct?
Yes, please.
So doesn't it suggest that security operatives in Kwara State have dropped the ball in fortifying Kwara borders before these bandits arrive into your territory?
Now, if you read the statement that the government of Kwara State released on Sunday after the incident, the governor commended the efforts, the sacrifices of the security agencies, but he made it abundantly clear that we clearly need to do more to protect our people.
Now, you said earlier that since April, since the attack on Kayama, that there have been deployment of forward operating bases of the military to Kwara State, and the attacks have been quelled. if there has been a deployment of forward operating bases, why has that of Ifelodun happened in August and in the last 48 hours, that of Sunday?
I didn't hear the last part of your question, please.
My question is quite clear, Mr. Ajakai. If you are saying that there has been deployment of forward operating bases of the military since April, why wasn't that sufficient to check the attack that happened in Ifelodun in August and in the last 48 hours?
The only room that is constantly open is the room of improvement. I mentioned that earlier on. It may not be appropriate for me here to castigate the military or security agencies, but what we are calling on is that everybody has to do a lot more. And over the past 48 hours, we have seen the military moving strongly and some other security agencies moving strongly to curb the situation.
So I want us to wind down with this point. We recognize, and I think you've acknowledged, that there's a lot of room for improvement, particularly getting justice for those who have lost their loved ones, either the local hunters or residents. So I want you to speak to that, getting justice and ensuring that there is deterrent, because it looks like when these bandits see that, oh, nothing is done, we just talk, release statements and hold meetings, they attack again, and this time they're even more deadly. So I want you to speak to what is being done to ensure justice and how the people can also support the government in fighting insecurity.
Justice shall be done to every individual who is involved in the killing of our people. Over the last 24 hours, there have been bombardment and serious security operations in the axis we are talking about. From the Kogi axis inward, Ifelodun, there have been serious security operations from the DSS, from the military, from the police. All of them are working together to ensure that these guys are flushed out and they are seriously dealt with. That's a form of, we are ensuring that the forested part that we are talking about, the government is calling for, and the government is already getting very strong signal that the military will conduct very severe area bombardment and ground operation in the axis to ensure that all of them are flushed out of the area.
Before you go, in 10 seconds, Mr. Ajakai, what can you say in terms of guaranteeing security for people of Ifelodun local government area right now? Is there an assurance that there are security operatives to protect them should there be another attack?
I'm assuring you that the government of Kwara State, supported by the federal government and security agencies, will never drop the ball. We will continue to do everything possible to protect our people.
All right. I hope that is reassuring for the people of Ifelodun local government area, or Kiode community to be precise. We must thank you very much at this point in time, Mr. Rafiu Ajakai, the Chief Press Secretary to the Kwara State Government. Thank you for coming on the program.
Thank you for having me. Good morning.
Well, there's still lots of messages coming in from Nigerians on this occasion of Independence Day. Michael Oluntola saying, I acknowledge the president, acknowledging the fact that we're not where we're supposed to be. Says that I expect the president to state how far we have derailed from our target and be practical about the steps his administration is making to get us where or there within the short and long-term plans. We need to get things done according to time, not using eternity to make promises, Michael Oluntola says.
We have time for that of Abbas Bata, right? Abbas says the president has spoken well from his point of view. However, reconciling the realities and the statistics from his speech is now a big task for Nigerians. I hope that Mr. President gets it right before leaving office. Thank you for your mail.
I need to sneak in this one from Ione Gabriel. He says, the increased allocations to governors have not translated into improved lives for ordinary citizens. Money reaching state houses do not automatically reach the people. We look forward to a Nigeria where we can travel our roads without fear, buy a bag of rice at 10,000 naira. I say double amen to that. And access affordable, quality public education in Nigeria, where the child of the poor can aspire to and attain the position of director in a federal agency without needing connections. Amen.
And, of course, this is where we touch down on this 65th Independence Anniversary edition of your favorite morning starter on Channels Television, The Morning Brief. Thank you for being there. Of course, ensure that your hand is on deck, as all hands are on deck on this edition of our celebration. Thank you for watching. I am Bukola Koka.
Please ensure that that hand you place on the deck is not messing things up. Make sure it's doing the right things. I'm Kayode Okikilu. Sunrise Daily is next, and our Independence Day special continues. Stay with us and have a great day.